Hello, hello. This is the Chicas Plus Equals podcast, a place where two chicas from Eastern Europe navigate real life. We're talking health, habits, mindset, relationships, and everything in between. Join the girl talk.
Hello, Jovana. Welcome back.
Hello. I feel
What's up?
more relaxed. I feel equally excited, but I feel less nervous. Last
Than the
time,
previous time?
yes, I don't know if people would able to hear it, but when I was listening to it again, I cringed a little bit because I was so nervous. And I tried to, I don't know, I wanted to, it reminded me when I would record videos for my Instagram page for English, and I would just be so, I don't know, nervous. And I would wanted to stop recording and go over. But this time you can't really do that. And I said nervous so many times in the last 30 seconds. If I was by myself right now, I would just stop recording and go back again.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that you're feeling a lot more relaxed. It's been a few weeks since we recorded that episode, but most importantly, the two of us, haven't caught up in something around the better of a week or so, and there's been some fun stuff happening in the past week, of which we're going to talk to you about. It's going to be stuff from travel to random existential questions that I'm having after graduating to scents and Taylor Swift's new album. So, what would you like to start by letting us know how was the trip to Mallorca?
It was so lovely. The beginning and the end of it was so interesting and not what we thought we would be, because we had issues with delayed, and we arrived there so much later than we thought we were gonna arrive. And eventually we checked in a hotel at 10 p.m. And by that time, because it was all inclusive hotel, so we had breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dinner was done by that moment. So we checked in and put our stuff in the room, and then we just straight went to the nearest cafe or restaurant so we can eat. And it was a joint restaurant or like a cafe situation. It was opened, and two, I don't know if that's one big restaurant, but I'm assuming there are two. And one of them was playing really loud music for a birthday party. And there was a karaoke.
Karaoke?
Yes. And so it was really loud, and the restaurant or cafe that we were in was literally right next to it, like a blended thing, was streaming football, and it was so loud because they wanted to overpower the music from the other restaurant. So it was a lot. I didn't hear my thoughts. I was just so tired in that moment and so hungry. And I remember we ordered pizzas, and after like 3-4 minutes of us waiting, I saw that the waiter was coming with two plates, and I was like, okay, I hope this is our pizza, because I was so hungry. And Stefan, my boyfriend, he was like, oh, I hope it's not, because if it's so fast, it means it's not really good. And he was right. It wasn't good at all. But we ended up having some ice cream after that, and that balanced it out a little bit. Yeah, came back to bed, and just next day, holiday started, and everything was okay. It was like it was more active than we anticipated. We thought we were gonna just, lay on the beach, just chill, take a walk at the end, like the end of the night, and that was gonna be it. But we're not those type of people, and we were playing tennis every day, and we were like going to the beach still. We had pool, so we were pool actually just once because the water was colder than in the sea. So we mostly use it just to lay down next to it and just enjoy the program. They were having some programs for the children and entertaining. Yeah, I was running as well. We were walking. We rented a car for one day to go to some other beaches and the national park and the cities around it. Came back for lunch. We didn't want to miss the lunch. Food was so delicious. So many types of food, so many types of cuisines, so delicious. We didn't want to miss it. And then we came like at lunch. I got ready, and then we went to capital, Palma. We were just scrolling, just without any goal. We were just walking. I love the streets. They're tight, like narrow,
Was it like cobblestone streets?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this kind of
Very Mediterranean.
architecture. Yes, very Mediterranean. I enjoyed really the walk, and we ended up just also driving for a bit before going back. And yeah, we actually ended up being more active than we thought, but I really liked it. I really liked it. And the very end of the trip ended with us having troubles with the plane. We had, because it was connecting flight, both when we were going there and here from Belgrade to Vienna, and then from Vienna to Palma de Mallorca. And when we were going back, we had only hour and a half for the second flight. So like between flights. I know that's really tough. It's not the ideal thing, especially with delays that were very possible to happen, and that happened to us. However, the good thing was that it was the same company for both flights, and so they were aware of the situation that many people, not just us, many people wouldn't be able to catch the connecting flight, the second flight, because we had a delay for the first plane for hour and a half. So the whole basically time that we would have to transfer the planes, that was all delay, and we didn't have time to catch the second plane. However, the airplane company booked a second flight the next morning, and we also had hotel booked for that night in Vienna. Everything was paid by the company, and it was actually very smooth. I didn't have to yell at anyone, didn't have to fight with anyone, didn't have to do any other additional work. We just booked the room. It was like 7-8 minutes walk from the airport, because it was one of those hotels that were in the airport area. So everything was so easy and nice. And eventually came back on Wednesday, and I spent the whole day, 9 hours of cleaning and
Oh my
organizing,
God, what?
and changing from summer clothes to winter clothes, because we came to the autumn basically.
Okay. Before we enter that whole subject, because I know if I start the topic of cleaning, it's probably going to take us to a completely different trajectory. That was kind of impressive. You managed to do a very efficient speed run of a week in more or less 7 minutes.
Yeah, because I don't know, for some reason I'm like, okay, people don't want to hear that. Like, people don't. I don't know.
No, we
I
would.
just try to explain, but not to overdo it.
Okay. How about, do you mind if I take it down a notch and take it a bit
Yep.
slower?
Yeah.
Okay, so first day. Was that restaurant you mentioned, was it like a joint restaurant? Because you said there was
I
like
think-
a cafe and another thing. Was it a joint space?
I think
Like, how were they close to each other?
well, literally, like, there is wall, but if you can call it garden, there are, tables in front of the restaurant or the cafe, and you can just go from one to the other. Like, there are two
No
different
separation, nothing?
not outside.
Uh-huh.
They had different waiters, they had different menus, so they are different. You can just go from this one to that one, of course, like
Oh, okay.
from outside. Yeah,
It's a
so
weird mix of vibes. Like,
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
one hand, you had karaoke night, and another one, you had like football fans.
Yes. I
How
didn't
was
know
that
what to
like?
think. I really had mixed feelings about the whole experience.
Yeah, like imagine coming back from travel from a plane and the last thing you want is chaos. Was that helpful, or was it, because sometimes, if you're tired and you enter these chaotic environments, it can wake you up, it can act as a trigger, or it can annoy you. Which one was it?
I was laughing the whole time, to be
That's good.
honest. I think that's maybe my defense mechanism in situations. I just laugh. Stefan gets funny when he gets tired. He was tired, especially he doesn't like these like long flights, especially connecting, and like I was in charge of that. He was a passenger princess when it comes to this trip. He doesn't like to be bothered by long distance trips, and even with the bus he doesn't take the bus, and he's like that. So you can
Comfy.
imagine how tired and annoyed he was, especially but from the airport. Hotel was like great. We don't have any complaints for the hotel. However, it was 2 hours far from the airport, 2 hours by bus, and we had to take 2 buses from the airport to arrive to a hotel.
Wow. So you really carried that man
Yeah.
to a challenge and a test.
Yes, and in that moment at the end when we were there just waiting for food, he was tired and he gets really funny. Yeah, so I was just laughing, and I know, like, I don't know, I had mixed feelings, and I was like, okay, I have mixed feelings about this everything today that happened, and so I'm just gonna sleep on it, see how it's gonna be tomorrow. We can only
Or make
go
fun of
up
it.
from there.
Yeah. Or like, also, humor is the best coping mechanism for life in general. You know, like there's nothing that doesn't get made better, especially like dark, like especially there's something that happens that's kind of, you know, unfortunate, but it's not catastrophic, but it's unfortunate and a bit annoying. Rather than getting annoyed, like making fun of it, it's probably the best way of enjoying the ridiculousness
Yeah.
of the situation. Given that you were in that very strange dual restaurant, and that was kind.
No, even before that, when we were waiting for the second bus and it was pitch dark, like you don't see anything, he started being, even before when we were in the first bus, he was getting upset. I just told him, we don't need that right now. Like, we are here, we are where we are, we know how we get there, like we have internet, we can communicate with people. Like, it didn't help that we didn't see anything outside when we were in the bus, like nothing. And I was trying to, for the sake of both of us, tell him that as long as we are okay and like we are here together, everything is gonna be okay. I don't care about stuff, you know. I didn't want the tension because we were already tired.
Yeah.
We were all everything. We already felt all the other things, and so I didn't want to add, you know, anger and annoyance on that even more.
Of course not.
So, and he met me there, and he just, in that moment, he, how do you say, like, put the ball down?
Well, you know what, Jovana? You know what this remind me of? Well, first of all, it definitely. Now I'm kind of connecting the dots now, knowing you and having traveled with you, and I can't help but notice that you're a very happy-go-lucky traveler. Because do you remember when we were in Turkey, how you made me take night buses to Istanbul and sleep in the airport?
And
The same attitude.
yeah, yes. And I was like, it would be an experience, you know, even if we don't find a booking for that day, like we can sleep at the airport and we can talk about that, you know. Tomorrow we can say we slept in the airport. It's going to be an adventure. And who would know? 6 years later, we would talk about it.
Exactly. 6 years later, now I'm calling you out. I'm letting everybody know what happened. Actually, I'm calling myself out here as well because we were in this together. Shall we go into the story? Do you want to go into the story of how we ended up in... First of all, so last time we were talking to you about how we went volunteering in Turkey and how we had issues with the accommodations. And at one point, I think to get away from the crazy environment we were in, we decided to go travel. And you know, because we were in a crazy environment, the way this travel set out was also crazy. So when we got to Antalya, we did a bunch of travels. We did a bunch of trips nearby Antalya. We went to a few popular places where clubs and music, or little villages that had ancient cities and remnants and stuff. So that was pretty nice and cozy. We can talk about it as well because those are beautiful trips, especially the one in Olympus.
Yeah.
Lovely. Actually, let's actually reminisce a bit about that. Do you like Olympus was, so we went to this tiny village, and I remember it was like a weekend or a few day, 2 day. It was like 1 day trip, and we booked this very early bus from Antalya to Olympus, which was, oh, this was so funny. We took this minibus and we weren't sure at which stop to actually hop off because it was like a tiny village in the mountains of Antalya, and we didn't know Antalya. We've never been there, so, and there wasn't a big sign saying this is Olympus because there's so many tiny villages next to each other. They're very similar, you know. They basically pull you on the side of the road and say this is the stop. So I remember we were on the bus and it was kind of early because we woke up really early, so I was half asleep, but we were approaching the exit and we only had Google like maps and stuff, and I still remember we weren't sure of which stop to hop off, and I was looking at Jovana and I was like, this is the one, we should go, we should stop like here, right? And then you weren't sure, and you were like, I'm not sure if this is the right stop. You were looking at me. I was like, yeah, this is the one. And then I thought that we completely missed the stop and we just are going to go now to a next village and we'll have to derail the journey. And I turned to you and say, you got scared. But it was just so funny because I think, actually, to be explicit, I turned to you and said, you got scared, motherfucker.
I remember.
I was very explicit during that time. I'm so sorry. Like, I was actually swearing quite a lot on that trip.
I remember that. I think we were joking about that, right? Later on.
Yeah, we were joking. We were like, I wasn't serious, but it was just so funny because we were hesitant. And it was
Oh my god,
literally,
I love doing this podcast now because you remember so much, so many details, and I'm over here like, what are you going to say? What did we do? Tell me, what
you are my
happened?
audience.
Yeah, I am truly.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to kind of give a big picture overview of how that trip was? Because we had a cool itinerary that day.
Yeah. What I remember the most is just that big part of the day when we were at the beach
Mm.
and when we decided to rent a bike
Mm-hmm.
and we had your speaker and we were driving
Yeah.
up the mountain and playing like filming videos, some just videos to remember, playing the music, and we arrived at the beginning of the like kind of hiking place where you leave the bike and just hike
Yeah.
to basically is it a mountain? What
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
it?
There was a really cool mountain. It was basically a mountain that had natural fire.
Yeah.
So people went up there with marshmallows and stuff to like burn some stuff.
We asked someone to to give us a marshmallow so we
Hmm.
can fire it, and
We had another one
yeah.
of those moments of like, I'm scared, I don't want to talk to strangers. But then was this American guy that had a bunch of marshmallows, and I really wanted to get marshmallows for this thing. And he read my mind, and we didn't get time to because of how many things we tried doing, and it was only a 1 day trip. And I was like, oh, so wish we had marshmallows. And then I see this like guy who was like giving away marshmallows to kids, like tiny kids. And I was there like 18, giant woman, and I was like, I want the marshmallow. So I was
I'm
kind of
someone's kid
hesitant.
as well.
I'm so I should have gone up to that man. But yeah, I went up there with like my general very jolly and enthusiastic demeanor, and we got some marshmallows for that thing. But it was like a natural fire mountain. Yeah, that was like my favorite memory as well. We rented these bikes. The way there, I mean, the whole day we were walking through the village. We were trying to find the beach. There were these like ancient town
Town, yeah.
remnants, really interesting. It was like the most unique beach I've ever seen,
Yeah,
like
and in order to get to the beach, you had to go through that, or
historical
maybe,
site.
yes, yeah.
Imagine there's like people hundreds of years ago who have like gone to that beach, and those were their houses, or like they had to go to those places. It was like really, really, it was kind of like going to a portal.
Mm,
And then you go to this beach, which was the most beautiful beach and the best water I've ever seen. It was that beautiful.
clean.
Yes, it was transparent. It was crystal clear. And the best part of all, there were mountains right there. And that's where I
Yes.
did my first cliff jump.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
was afraid.
You were afraid.
I didn't want to do it.
So when I went to Turkey, I had the objective of doing a like cliff jump, not just like a tiny one. I don't know why I was into extreme sports during that time. I just really wanted to challenge myself. And the whole time I had this in mind. And then on this beach in Olympus, we were swimming, and then I see this stone and this kid following this rope and climbing this rope up the what was it, like a big rock, jumping from that rock. I was like, you know what, this is my chance. So it was kind of also far from the shore, it was kind of far ahead, and we swam to that. I kind of swam the whole ocean, the whole like seafront of that beach as well, so we're kind of tired.
Yeah.
But here I go to this like kind of farther ahead rock, and I get this rope, and I completely annoyed the crap out of this teenager or kid because I was so slow. The stone was so strange because it had the texture of a sponge that was kind of petrified, so it would hurt your feet. And I didn't know what water shoes were, had no idea. But this kid was wearing them, and he would be, as I was trying to climb, he would get very impatient, so he would start climbing the rock next to me, and I saw him kind of outtaking me, and I noticed his shoes whilst I was like halfway on that rock, and I was like, oh my god, I'm fucked. I don't have these shoes. No wonder why it hurts so much. But I was already climbing. So I went up there, and can you not, the last step from me to actually get into the position for jumping was the longest minute of my life. Because I could see the edge. I could see the entire seaside of people staring at the white woman in a bikini, like an oversized white woman in a bikini trying to do this cliff jump. And I was in Turkey, in a place it's like not known for people usually are covered up. I was in a one piece. It wasn't all that indecent, but people were staring. And then you were down there and you were shouting, be careful, be careful. And I was like, Jovana, I'm already here. there's only one way I can go down.
I didn't come this far to only come this far.
Exactly. And you were scared. You were petrified.
Yeah, because we were alone. I was like, God forbid anything happens. So what am I gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are we gonna do? Like
What
I
was in
can't
your mind when you saw me climbing that?
freaking out, just hoping that everything will be okay. This is just gonna be, like one of the things that we're just gonna talk about. It's not gonna come out of anything, big and scary.
Mm-hmm. Turns out that we are a really good duo because
Yeah.
you have this happy-go-lucky attitude. But when you get scared, I get kind of brave, and then when I get kind of I question the validity of your ideas. Then you're very brave. Yeah. So sorry.
You jumped.
Then I jumped, and then we went and hired these bikes, and we had this like very scenic bike ride where there was cacti, tree, like bushes and stuff, and we took a lot of photos. It was kind of, the environment up to that mountain was very much like it was kind of like savanna type of
Yes.
vegetation.
Yes.
So it didn't feel like we were in Turkey,
Yeah, and the beach was isolated. There were a few cafes, but they were not next to the beach.
They were nice though.
Yes, they were nice, and they were a little bit further from the shore. And so at the end, at night, when it was night, it was really like pitch black, and you could see the most beautiful scenery because there was
The sky.
yes,
great.
I tried to take a picture, but it didn't do justice, so I didn't even snap it. But I remember being so in awe of the sky and the stars, and that was my first time seeing stars, so many stars, so clearly. Because I'm in Belgrade, like I've been in the city my whole life, and I don't see such sceneries. And unfortunately, I never went camping, and I
You never went camping?
No, I do want to do it, but I so far I've never been camping, and I never had opportunity to camp in nature, sleep in nature, so that I can see stars so clearly, and I was so amazed.
It was the type of scenery where you see like the interstellar gas thing. So it was not only the stars, but you could see the freaking galaxy through the colors. It was really intense.
Yes.
And
cafes were so cozy, and it wasn't like big, upright, and in your face, but just so cozy with like.
There were some luxury places too, like the cafe right up to the beach. They had like this almost. They had the low level like Turkish traditional seating. They had these swings and stuff. It was really cute. Like there are this kind of village, this hidden gem of a beach has good like amenities.
Yeah, and at the end when
they had bike hire,
Bike
like
hire?
Yeah, the hiring service we used to get the bikes.
Oh, like rent a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a random street, just random, the local, like the. And I remember we arrived there on one side, I guess, at night. If you remember, our roommate that we talked about last time and her friend joined us, and we all together just eventually he gave us a ride back home, and we went from the other side, and I never even realized that there is a whole town behind the beach.
Yeah, there was like these restaurants, and I was like, wow, there's food there.
Yes, and like a bazaar thing, like people were selling stuff. There were shops, and I was like, oh my god, a whole village here.
One of the best beaches I've ever been to. It was fantastic. But actually, isn't it funny how we had the craziest day, the most beautiful crazy day, and actually we didn't know how we were going to get back because we spent such a long time enjoying the place. So by the end of it, we wanted to do so many things. We did so many things, and by the end of it, we didn't know if we were going to get the bus. But we were so lucky that great day. We got a lift from our roommate's boyfriend, which is like the luckiest thing to have whilst traveling. If you want a pro tip, travel with somebody that wants a relationship abroad, because that's gonna get you very far.
Yeah,
as it helped you.
Same guy who helped us, when we were moving as well.
Yeah, very nice guy. We actually ended up meeting quite a lot of nice people on other trips. So another trip that we did was in Istanbul. In fact, it was Bursa, another crazy story. We were supposed to meet our host parents. Were very reliable, as you can remember from last episode. They suggested that we go go and visit and see their hometown and see the village of their parents, which was in this it was in this town near Istanbul, which is quite well known from what I understood afterwards. Bursa. I actually met somebody at Cambridge from Bursa, and they were so shocked that I've
Oh.
been. And we had a brilliant idea of taking a night bus from and go there alone by ourselves beforehand, because we knew that our host parents are kind of, I mean, we wanted to travel to visit the place, you know, they wanted to see their parents. So in order to have more time to explore the village, we decided to get this night bus and arrive there at the early next day and meet them in the evening, because they were planning on driving, hiring a car from the morning, and then travel 10 hours and then, you know, meet, like, go and visit their relatives and stuff. And we were like, okay, let us just take the bus and have our own independence and we'll meet you there. Well, we get
I
there.
remember.
They didn't show up.
Yes. You know what I just randomly remembered when we were in that bus?
Wait, so we were like, we traveled across the country
Yeah.
and they abandoned us.
Yes. Yeah. A
You
moment
remember?
of silence. And we were just walking, right? We were trying to find the address there.
Yes.
When we were there, just when we were, we were walking, like exploring.
I don't think so.
but-
No, I don't think we tried to find the address because we didn't get the address. They didn't
no,
give us an address.
We were trying to find something. I don't
We're
remember
trying
now
to find
what.
the old, like, it was kind of like a touristy site, which was this village up on the mountain.
Oh,
and
we
end up walking on the highway near cars.
Yeah, that wasn't pretty.
I think the cars were very confused, but it was a very touristy moment where I imagine there's like, it was kind of one of those like hill drives up a hill. So there were only cars, there was no footpath, and we were just walking on that street meant
Yeah.
for cars for like better of 2 kilometers or something.
Yes. Oh my God, so many flashbacks right now. Not until this moment I forgot about this the if you remember in the bus, it was a night drive, as you said, and there was how do you call, like, he's not a waiter, but he was bringing us food and
No, I think that was Istanbul. That was the ride to Istanbul when there was this babushka in this bus with us. It was an empty bus, right?
I don't remember. I just remember that there was a guy who eventually slipped his number.
What?
If you remember, he wrote on a paper his number, and I was, I think, asleep, and for you, like, for you to give it to me, or he gave it to me. I don't remember what happened, but I remember that situation.
I don't remember this. I
And I don't-
absolutely don't.
I just randomly remember that, and it was my first time remembering.
It was the night bus from
Yes,
Bursa to.
I think it was from Bursa, because that was the only time we were traveling at night by bus.
We also took Bursa to Turkey. Oh, that was interesting. I didn't know that. Do you have any more recollection of that bus?
It's just he was giving us. That's why I said I don't know how you called him. He was working. He was giving us, food, and also like not food, but just snacks, not just to us, to also other people, and drinks as well, like water. And and he was coming back a few times, and in one moment he gave me his number. I didn't use it, but it was I remember that. I remember that now.
Wow, this is the first moment where I can't remember a thing from that trip. I can't remember that drive at all.
Also, what I remember before that drive, it was I was rushing to catch that bus when we were supposed to meet, because in that moment we lived in different addresses. One of the moments when we were moving and lived separately, and I was in the city bus, and you can't really go into the bus until you pay. Like, all people go into in Mallorca, it was the same thing. You go into the first door, and I didn't have enough on the card to pay, but he didn't say anything when I pressed to pay, and I noticed that I didn't have, because it was some sound that it made, and I was waiting for his reaction. He didn't say anything, so I was like, okay, maybe he didn't notice. And the bus was pretty much empty. There were a few of us, and this was me going on my way to the main bus station to meet with you. And in a moment when I wanted to exit the bus, he just closed the doors, and he didn't let me out because I didn't pay for the bus. And I there was luckily one guy who offered to pay for me, and I was like, okay, thank you very much, and take the money. I was giving him money in cash.
Mhm.
I was like, few Turkish liras, nothing special. And I was like, and he didn't want to take it. He was like, no, no, no. I was like, please take it. I have to go. I don't have time just to argue with you. Take it, please, and thank you. And so he took it, and I was just like, ran out.
That's so funny. Did you actually tell him that? I don't have time to argue. Take it. That was-
I was being really impatient, and I was so determined for him to take it, and didn't want to owe him or whatever my mind went through thought process in that moment, and I was like, I don't have time, please. Yeah, he saw that there was no arguing with me. He took it at the end.
Yeah, he didn't know that you were Eastern European. There was no way to argue against that.
Oh, no. But going back to Bursa and how we decided to, why not? Let's go to Istanbul since we're here.
Yeah, so after we visited Bursa, which was quite nice, we went up this village, they have this tiny village on this hill, really cute, really nice. Have some wonderful photos from there. If you ever to go to Turkey, have a Turkish breakfast, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So we went there, and then that was kind of our attempt at distracting us from the fact that we had no idea where we're going to go the next day and live, because the plan was to stay at the house of our host parents, which, oh my god, these people have been so historically, like, consistently unreliable. So we went to this town, and there was this celebration. We visited the mosque, we visited the main town of Bursa, and then we realized there was like a national holiday. But you had the idea of, we're just gonna go to Istanbul. The way you put it, Jovana. Let me tell you the way you
Please
put
tell
it.
me.
Which is, I'll let whoever listens to this judge if this was logical. Like, the logic of this was interesting. There's many people in Istanbul. We can go there. We can walk around at night because there's many people, it's gonna be fine. Many people in Istanbul, in a big city at night, safe. I mean, that's safety. I understood the logic is like, if there's like people on the street, is better than no people on the street.
Yeah.
Which is fair. It's fair. Like, I didn't say it was like, it made kind of sense, but at the same time very risky. But like, okay, she has an interesting point. And then you were like, let's just go take the bus. And we then thought about going to the airport, like the bus to the airport. And on that bus, we haven't really thought this through, We just had one idea. We needed to survive. We had no idea where we're going to stay. But we thought we can go to the airport and pretend we have to go there, And I incidentally had some business to solve with Turkish Airlines. So I was like, I have an excuse to go to the airport. So we go on this bus. There's nobody on this bus. It was a double-decker. There was us at the top floor, nobody else. The waiter, who ended up being quite nice and helping us late with like change buses and stuff, because we had to change the buses from Istanbul to Istanbul airport. And this babushka, this like kind of witch-looking grandmother that sat at the first floor of the bus. And I remember us being on this bus and getting scared because we were the only ones at the top floor. We were just alone on this giant bus. So we end up going down, that down floor where the babushka was. So we had like, I don't know, more company. We were just very scared.
I remember I was on Google Maps the whole time trying to make sure that we were going in the right direction, as if I'm gonna do something if we're not, like, jump out of the bus. But I was just, okay, I have to, especially because it was my idea, and it was, again, pitch black at night. I was like, okay,
It was sketchy. We couldn't see anything. We were just driving into the abyss.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
And it was one of those moments where, Jovana, you were very enthusiastic and confident at the beginning of the trip. So you convinced me. You kind of like managed to override my fears and anxiety. And I was like, okay, she's very confident. I'm going to rely on her. And by the time we were in the bus, when it was pitch black, you were on Google Maps, petrified. And I was looking at you, like, Jovana, this was your idea. How are you more scared than I am?
I got scared, motherfucker. Once
That
again.
time, yeah, I probably also said it.
Probably.
That was very funny. Like, I remember the switch in attitude from, oh my god, let's go to Istanbul at night, to, oh my god, we're going to Istanbul at night. But in the end, like, I was most skeptical of the fact that there were no people in this bus because it
Yeah.
was a national holiday, you know. So we end up being helped by this. We change buses. We go to the airport, and then we spend the whole. We actually our airport was our accommodation for those
Yeah.
2 nights, next 2 nights.
Yes. Yeah, actually. And I
How
was
was
like, before that, you were trying to find us something on Booking or Airbnb, and I was like, okay, if we don't find something, we have airport. I didn't worry because at least we had airport, and you can't forbid us to sleep there, so we could sleep in the airport. It can't be an experience.
That's a valid reason. Do you remember the how it was to sleep in the airport?
Very uncomfortable.
Glamorous
v-
history of our life.
Very uncomfortable. We were sleeping in shifts. And you couldn't even relax because you were so worried that I was gonna fall asleep when it was my time to like be awake. Oh my god! And the chairs, the cold
It's
chairs,
cold.
uncomfortable chairs.
The AC in Istanbul was
Oh yes!
blasting.
Oh my god! It was so cold as well. Dear God! But the sunrise again.
Sunrise rose again, and then it was a great experience. Right. So we go to Istanbul. We actually visit Istanbul. What was your impression of Istanbul?
So crowded.
Oh my god, yes.
So many people. I didn't actually enjoy it. Uh, I enjoyed. Okay. The I remember the up until that moment we were pretty good at managing ourselves in Antalya as well in other places, and I remember maybe for the first time using actual like paying attention on finding our way out from the market when we went there from the bazaar because it was so crowded and so big and so many people and so many streets. You see the street and you're like, okay, it's a way out. No, no, no. It's just a part of the
It
bazaar.
was like a sea of people
Yes.
flooding the bazaar. You could, if you wanted, you could jump and float above everyone.
Yes. And I was even with using Google Maps trying to get out, I was still getting lost.
Yeah.
And
It
I
was
didn't enjoy that. And I did not enjoy the crowd in Istanbul. But I did enjoy when we randomly met our friend who we friended
Oh
after
my god,
that.
yes. Shout out to Mohammed. I love this
Yes.
story. And I'm very curious if you remember it the same way. Because I remember we just got out of the bazaar or something and we met this tour guide who was he was like working on these like tour guide buses
Yeah.
in Antalya in sorry Istanbul, and we go up to him and we just ask him for directions. Simple.
Yeah.
He spoke very good English, so he ended up he ended up taking 1 hour break from his work to stay and talk with us for like about anything, everything. It was like a
Yeah.
random. It was we had our own little podcast conversation with this guy
Yes.
for like an hour and 30 minutes, and he would like self-development and business and knowledge and like very things that we usually talk about.
Yeah.
So we end up
Charming as well. Like he was really like there was
businessy.
nothing suspicious, you know.
Yeah, we felt very comfortable with
Yeah.
this kind, very like kind, friendly person, but not in a
Yeah.
weird way, you know.
Yeah.
So we end up taking his number, getting his number, and I think I asked for his number. And then we go to this like restaurant. We go on with our day, and whilst after we had dinner and we ate something, I gave you the number, and I told you, I think I told you, let's contact him. You know, because the thing is, you had this vision when we decided to go to Istanbul. You sold me this vision of going at Istanbul at night and enjoying the nightlife of Istanbul. So saw this as our golden opportunity to actually make it happen. So we are like you. I can't remember who did it. I think you did it because you ended up talking to him. You then we then like decided to contact this guy and ask him if he wanted to meet us at night
Later,
and go
yeah,
on
that evening.
later in the day, yeah, exactly later that evening and have a little walk around Istanbul.
And he
Do you
said
rem-
yes.
he said
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, spoiler alert, we actually end up still being friends with this guy. I mean, you still being friends with this person,
Yeah.
like years later. So it was one of those moments where trusting your gut and, following your instincts really like helped. And it's, because sometimes most people would be scared of that situation, would be like, oh, he's a stranger, it's a stranger danger situation, this is a man, we're two women, we don't know where we are, we're sleep deprived, let's not do it. But we actually did, because I think we listened to our hearts, and both of us decided it was a good chance,
Yeah,
if
and both of us were on the same page. It's not that I was like, "Oh, he seems cool and charming," and you were like, "No, no, no, there was something wrong with him." We were
hmm
both on the same page, and we both thought that he was friendly
yeah,
and trustworthy, and he ended up actually being friendly and trustworthy, and ended up taking us to a
give us the
club.
rundown on what we did. Do you remember what we did?
Oh, I remember walking to the street, maybe it was the main street, and me being so annoyed because there were so many people, and it wasn't just actually taking a walk because I would have to worry. I was worrying the whole constantly of not bumping into someone else and just making sure to, be on my way. And I didn't enjoy that. I did not enjoy it. And I don't remember if it was randomly he knew few clubs and few spots, and he decided to like just okay, let's take this one, right?
Yeah, yeah, I remember. So we end up having ice cream first. He'd like, I think he bought us ice cream or something. Very kind of him.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
I don't know, quick bait.
Oh,
We
we
went to a
went.
library. We went to a bookstore, right? Remember?
I just remember that we went to both on a boat that day. That was earlier that day,
Oh
but
yeah, that was the two of us.
yeah, I
Yeah, that was
just
lovely.
randomly remember that that was a beautiful ride.
Oh yeah, we did. It was one of those like, canal kind of boats, like ferry
Yeah.
boat situation. You have those in London as well when you go across.
The,
Um,
I think he recommended it to us or something like that. Don't remember.
oh,
Don't remember that part. But yeah, library. Didn't I buy book then? I bought book at one point in Turkey.
you guys were fangirling over books. I felt like I was third wheeling, not gonna lie. It felt like you two guys were having a date.
Oh my god.
Um,
And we were still, mind you, we were still in the same clothes from the yesterday when we were sleeping.
attractive.
Yeah, oh my god. So much. We were still like we were slept previously in the airport, didn't have really opportunity to freshen up, to shower. We just like, in and out. That was the plan.
We were
But
living the hobo life of a traveler. It was great.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember, Taksim Square is beautiful. As some,
Yeah.
I didn't know it then, but I know it now. Like, I have an appreciation for nightlife, for places that are vibrant. And Taksim Square was amazing. And he knew the place. So he
Mhm.
walked us around. He showed us the bookstore and stuff. And I mean, he's a tour guide, of course, you'd know.
Yeah.
And then at one point, we ended up going to a club. And that was like amazing decision on his part. Like, again, if this was a guy that we felt weird with, and like if we didn't listen to our heart and we listened to our brain, we would have not gone. Because like think about the connect the dots. He bought us ice cream, he like showed us some bookstores, he then gets us into a club. This is a stranger, we end up doing shots in that club, and then like if you think about it, this makes it more and more dangerous and risky. But in the end, it was a very wholesome experience because he took really good care of us. He was friendly, he was nice, and he was a good guide. And then actually he was the one that sent us off to the airport after
Yeah.
being a bit drunk from the we were
Oh,
tipsy.
no, yeah, but not that we
We
didn't
weren't drunk, no,
know.
we were just
Yeah, yeah,
tipsy.
yeah. Yeah, we were having a good time. And we straight from the oh my god. I didn't even have time to be nervous because I'm usually nervous before traveling. I have nervous stomach. I didn't even have time to be nervous because
Went from the club to
straight
the plane.
from the club to the bus that took us to the airport and to the plane. And like, what?
And we fell
What?
asleep in an instant the second we sat down on those chairs from the flight,
Yeah.
like cross country flight from Istanbul to Antalya. We fell asleep. And I
Yeah.
think people woke us up when everybody left the plane.
Where do you remember? When was it in Antalya? Where was it when we were running? We were late for the train for the plane. Remember, we were running to the gate. There was also one woman with a child who was begging the stewardess to let her in. Something with like we didn't have time to just stop because we were rushing to get to the plane, and there was us and maybe one or two other guys on a shuttle who was driving us to the plane, and everyone boarded, and we were the last ones to get there.
I have no idea because we only took like a few. I think we only took one or two planes. I think that was the only time we took a plane was from Istanbul to
Then
Antalya.
it must have been that. It must have been that because that happened.
Oh, so we almost missed it as well.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. Because we booked that plane that day, basically. We didn't know, because yesterday we didn't know we were going to Istanbul. So that day when we were in Istanbul, I think you were the one checking flights and
guess
booking
so.
us flights back.
I think it was a great experience, but
Yeah.
it was a great experience in terms of, not really thinking about consequences and just going with the flow. We went with the flow for 2 days, and now we had this story to share with future generations. It was fantastic. And then afterwards, we ended up returning to Antalya, and you had nowhere to stay, so you ended up staying at your friend's boyfriend. So this was interesting. Yeah, this was like, I think we were reminiscing travel experiences, and we went from Mallorca to this very smoothly. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you remember from Turkey, that like any other trips that you want to mention? Because I think we did our own separate trips as well for a bit.
Yeah. And I met the guy after who our friend was with. He went back to Ankara, and I also met a guy there in Turkey, and we were going to Ankara for a day, and it was very random of me as well.
And you got him a gift in Istanbul. That's why we got lost in the bazaar.
Yeah. Oh my God. What did I buy?
You bought him a yellow notebook with like a tree on it or something.
Yes. I bought
It's
him
strange that I remember
to
these
him or
things.
to myself. I think I bought it to myself.
I think it was to him and to yourself. I think you bought two. I think the fact that I remember these details. Like I remember
Yes.
the way the book looked.
I'm telling you, you said it best. I'm your audience. Yeah, and when we went to Ankara for a day, we met with that guy from our friend's boy. And we had such a lovely time. Such a funny guy. He was so funny.
Really?
Yeah, I remember a situation. He's so jealous, actually. And the boy, I call him the boy. He's older than me. But the guy who I was with back then, he was joking and teasing him of if it's okay for a girlfriend to have a guy friend if he's, just friend. And that guy, he was like, no, that's not okay. If he's like brother, okay. A friend, no. And he was teasing him the whole time, and it was hilarious. He ended up buying us ice cream. I didn't think I don't even
Getting
know
bribed with ice cream so much in this
so
trip.
yes, I didn't think I would see him again, but it was such a lovely time, actually. And yeah, we
Yeah, I
went
mean, I
back.
remember. So, if you were referring to our friend's date at the time,
Yeah.
I remember when we came back from that trip in Istanbul, he like took us out for Turkish breakfast and stuff. So he was really kind.
Yeah.
We met like, I think this is the pros of being a friendly person, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's a cool trip. I think there was a time where after that, I think there was a time where we did our own travel. I wasn't in this Ankara trip because this was your like, I don't know, date trip. But I remember I went to one solo travel trip to Cappadocia or Cappadocia. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but this is the one that I went on by myself. And it was one of the, I remember it so vividly, probably because I remember things very vividly when I'm in this heightened awareness where I feel in danger a little bit. The bazaar, the Istanbul trip, like all these things. So when I went on this solo travel, I remembered everything. So it made it such a rich experience. But the first thing I remember is that I went straight from the spa to the bus because I went to this Turkish hammam. And oh my God, I remember the transition from I feel like I got out of the womb after being washed, and like I went to this. So in Turkish hammam, It's like so I went to this a fancier one, so it was at the hotel hammam. So we had like several steps. So there are multiple steps. You go into this sauna, then you go into a steam room, then you go to a cold shower, and then you go to like a pool, and then the final thing, which is the reason why I did this hammam, is I was trying to challenge myself to be more comfortable with my body in front of others because I was very like generally very uncomfortable. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to this hammam where this is gonna sound so funny. I'm gonna go to this hammam where a woman washes you.
Oh.
Because the hammam is like there's multiple types of hammam where just like a common hammam situation where everybody bathes in their own place, but it's kind of like a common place. Then there's like a woman's hammam and a men's hammam. They're not mixed. But at these fancier ones, you have somebody that washes you. So they put you on this like marble table and you're basically naked. And they like put this like leather of foam on you.
Whoa.
Literally, it felt like a blanket. It felt so weird. And the whole place was made out of marble. Like the room was made out of marble. So it felt like a very ritualistic thing. It was amazing. And then I did the whole hammam, I was washed like I've never been washed before, I felt like my skin was I just like because they use this scrub, that takes off a layer of your skin and you just end up being like a baby. And I had to go straight from that to getting on the other side of the city and hopping on a night bus to go to Cappadocia, like 12-hour night bus. And I remember I was so disoriented coming out of the spa and having to find the bus that I actually got the wrong bus and I had to stop on the highway to change the bus.
Oh
And
no.
I was walking on this highway and I was like, I don't care about anything. I feel like I'm walking on a cloud because I was just like so dizzy. And then I remember I had to pack in like 20 minutes and I was scared that I was going to miss the bus because it was like a 10 p.m. bus, it was very rushed. And then I ended up taking this night bus, telling my parents I'm traveling alone to like the middle of Turkey. It's gonna be on at night. They were petrified for the
You
whole night.
told them?
I did tell them, yeah.
I said nothing to my parents while we were there. Literally, I told them everything or almost everything when we came back because I knew that they were, as you said, petrified. And I was like, no, 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 no. I'll tell them when there is a happy ending to everything.
I think it's my parents check up on me, like my mom checks up on me. So like she texted me whilst I was like packing and stuff. So I think it was on the bus and I told her, yes, I'm going to this place. The story is that my sister really wanted to go to this place in Turkey, Cappadocia, where there's this very famous scene with the hot air balloons
Mm-hmm.
going off in the morning, like in the middle of the mountains and the valleys. It was really, really cool. So I set out to go. And I remember the ride there was hilarious. I'll never stop being surprised by the bravado of Turkish men and how easily they could ask you for marriage anywhere. I remember I was on this night bus and somebody turns around and asks, "Are you married?" And I was like, "Why would you ask?" And yeah, I was alone on that bus, and I actually it was fine. Like there were stops here and there, and I was generally very proud of my ability to manage everything because whilst I was in Cappadocia, I arranged a like horse riding expedition, event through the valleys. I walked through the valleys on my own, which was kind of scary, but then you end up going to this place that looks like the Shire from The Hobbit, which is amazing. I was staying at this hostel. It was lovely. I ended up being offered wine by a gay couple. It was great. um, and then yeah, just walking around enjoying the beauty. The Cappadocia is one of those villages that has such an insanely unique architecture. It felt like you were in a fairy tale town, almost like Disneyland.
Did you go horseback riding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was cool. And then to top it off, like the cherry on top was going to see the balloons in the morning. And that was interesting because you have to wake up at like 5 a.m. in the morning and at like 4 a.m. this lesbian couple is like, "Do you want wine?" And I was like, "No, no, no, I'm going out into a mission. I don't want any wine right now." Because I wasn't going on the balloon because that was too expensive. I just was going to see it. And they're outside the village. So I set off and again walking on freaking national, like on the road across like next to cars. And I remember walking outside of the village and I see the balloons. So I start like just walking across this field and there a bunch of like dogs start shouting at me, barking
Oh,
at
wow.
me. So I like turn around. It's like, no, 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 not this way. to like go around.
No.
I was petrified because I was alone. There was like, it was like 5 a.m. So there was no cars and these like dogs. So if something was going to happen, there's nobody to help me out. But I make my way bravely through the mountains and I end up in like, I just walk around, I just follow the balloons because there's so many and you can see them. It felt very freeing, not gonna lie. And
Mhm.
as I was walking, I remember reaching a point where I was right below a balloon full of like Chinese travelers and tourists. And I can still remember the look on their faces when they looked down. And I think they were wondering, like, what's this like girl doing down there? What's this random girl? Like, is she a, I don't know, woman of the mountains or something? She was she was like nobody. There's nobody there other than cars, people who own the balloon companies, and it's like a lost soul looking up at us. It was the funniest thing because they were so close. They were like just 1 meter above me because they just set off. So they were like staring at me as if I was a tourist attraction. But it was great. It was surreal, and as the sunrise comes up, you see all these balloons, and it just feels like a very unreal, very surreal moment.
Mm.
So that was one of those
Wow,
trips that I
beautiful,
remember.
beautiful, and very eventful for a short period of time. Once again.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I think. Oh, I think I was. It was also there where my Turkish skills started to kind of accumulate, and I started picking up. I realized that I actually started picking up Turkish because we were in this bus with. There were some South African tourists in the bus with me for this like horse riding thing, and they were trying to communicate with the driver, but they didn't know how to, and the driver didn't speak English. So I just like. I think automatically I just speak to the driver in Turkish. And I don't even process it. So then I think they just ask where the ATM is. They need an ATM. So I just tell the driver they need an ATM. I'm like, where is an ATM? And he replies and I tell them. And then like at the end of the whole trip, these tourists, these South African tourists come up to me and like, your Turkish is really good. And I couldn't remember when I talked Turkish. I was like, where? What did I do?
You blacked out.
You were just like, I think because we were in this Turkish school for so long and it was the end of my trip that I just got so immersed in the environment
Mm. Mm.
that like I just didn't even notice that I was speaking Turkish.
Yeah. Since we're wrapping up this story about Turkey, I just wanted to clarify something because last time you said we ended up sort of saying how like we ended up being friends, becoming friends, even though your words, even though I didn't like you at the beginning. So I just want to clarify that it's not that I didn't like you; it's we were very different and in a way how we maybe communicated with others as well. Like, for example, I remember at the beginning, you are the type of person back then, you were the type of person who at least that was my impression, you didn't know how to sit in silence comfortably, and you always had a need to talk and to have a conversation.
Hmm.
And even when we just like we were living together, so there was always naturally gonna be time where we're not gonna talk about stuff. And I remember you were like there was a pause and you, okay, what can we talk about now? And I'm like,
So funny.
we don't have to talk about anything, like there is like don't push it. And that was new for me. I'm not that type of person, and I don't know, I just it was new, and I was learning about you and like how are you handling stuff. And that's why I was like, maybe at the beginning I didn't think we were gonna stay close.
You
uh
can guess who has ADHD between the two of us.
yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah, but I think all those troubles and all those unquote troubles brought us together eventually, because we had to rely on ourselves on to like together we had to become a team, basically. When we were on for example Antalya, and we went to a random 1 day trips,
Yeah.
it wasn't gonna be like it wouldn't work out if you were like, yeah, I want to do this and that's it. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't care. I'm going to do this. That wouldn't work out. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe we were both mature in that way. And also like
I think
easygoing in a way. Maybe, yeah,
hmm
nervous and like, scared in some moments, but still trusted each other enough that, okay, we are in this new situation, but we're going to figure it
Yeah.
out. We are together.
Yeah, I feel like beyond just personality, there's more important things between people that kind of identify or lead to a good friendship, you know. And I think this ability to rely on one another was a very good like dynamic, because you know sometimes people judge each other based on personality. You know, I couldn't be friends with this person, with that person, they're this, they're that. But you know, I think because we were in this, we had to to kind of work together, and we had to rely on each other. We went through these experiences together. It helped us build something a bit more meaningful, a bit more like profound, in terms of what leads to good, like things that you base a friendship on. For example, you know, the similar taste for adventure, the way we had conversations, you know, the way we saw the world, this kind of more of a mature lens, this openness. We were both open to experiences. We were both.
Patience.
You are definitely patient. You are definitely very, very patient person. Thank you for being patient with me. But
Oh.
yeah, it was. I think it was. It was. You know. So after the trip, after Antalya, I generally didn't really think that we were going to talk afterwards. You know, I was like, okay,
Same.
fair enough. We met this person; she was nice. But I think it's also a testament to how friendly you are, because you know how open we both are, because we wanted to stay in touch, and we are the type of people that want to stay in touch with others. So we would kind of share these audios and messages of how we're doing and like what's going on. And I think slowly but surely we end up talking more and more about like meaningful stuff in our lives.
Yeah.
I remember I was just going to university, I was like finishing school, and it was like kind of maybe because we also shared a room together and we had to live together for so long in those 6 weeks, that there was this closeness, so I could share with you, you know, what's happening in high school with me,
But
or what's happening.
I would say also the maybe similarity of mindsets as well, even
Hmm.
though I'm a few years older than you, younger.
Yeah, like 4 years
Yeah,
older
I
than me,
wish.
right?
Three or four.
You are 28.
Yes.
I'm 24. There's 4 years.
Oh my God. Okay. You didn't have to bring that up.
I can edit it out. I can edit it out.
Yeah. No. So yeah, also other our the other girl who I was also close to and also live.
Hmm.
She's maybe 3 years younger than me, and but the thing is, I think we were close in mindsets, and also probably because you're from Romania, I'm from Serbia. We are basically neighbors, and so that mentality is maybe a little bit similar. That and like we have this growth mindset generally, and so that kept us, you know, having conversations and things to talk about, because I was also trying to stay in touch with other girls, but I noticed that eventually the conversation wouldn't be much more than just, oh, I miss you, and that was it. You know, we didn't like, oh, I'm not doing anything special or whatever it was, like not going deeper into conversation. And so I'm not a type of person who would just message back and forth, oh, I miss you, what are you doing, I miss you, what are you, like, you know, that's not me.
Yeah,
So
like
I need to have something tangible that I can like talk to you about. And we are similar in that way. And so one thing led to another, and like we talked more about ourselves and lives back home, and like things that were happening currently in our lives. We shared and started sharing more and more and just bonding more and more.
And I think also one thing too, like this was not one of those friendships where you just instantly become best friends. You know, it was
Oh
built
no.
over time, and it
Yeah.
was also gradual, which is something
Yeah.
that I feel like it's rarer and rarer to find. You know, this patience of
Yeah.
getting to know somebody, not rushing things. We basically went through like different stages. You know, it was progressive, and it was such a
Yeah.
it. This is the sort of thing that happens only with like mature friendships, with adult friendships. You know, the ones that aren't the ones that just happen after, you know, because you are in the same high school, the same class at uni. It's those friendships that you build and you actually put action into
Yeah.
building. You know, like my best friendships, and the way I kind of assess the quality of my friendships, because I care about them, is do we mutually put in the effort to make it grow? And I think that's one of it. And also, as you mentioned, similarities, I think if you look at the reason why the two of us traveled to Antalya and the reason why our other friends traveled to Antalya, we were the two of us were the ones that wanted to travel to Antalya for self-development. not for fun, not for CV, not it wasn't like because some people were just there for fun. And that's nice. That's lovely. But I think we were there for kind of also fun. You were there to travel
Yeah.
and visit places, but it
Yeah.
was an element of self-development.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah. I was definitely, as I mentioned last time, I was definitely so proud to realize how brave I actually was and how capable I actually was. And I- uh, I am so grateful for those experiences and that I was forced into some of the situations, basically, that it didn't have to do anything with academics knowledge
Mhm.
or, yeah, just life.
Well, so now that we wrapped up our travel discussion and kind of sharing our travel experiences in Mallorca, in Turkey, the way we traveled generally. I mean, obviously we the two of us have had other travel experiences afterwards, that maybe we're going to talk about at another podcast, another episode. But I wanted to wrap up the episode with just a bunch of catch up, follow up questions from how we've been like in our life recently, things we've enjoyed, things that are new, things we learned. So you mentioned to me just recently before we started this podcast, the fact that you recently kind of had this discovery of how important scent and environment are. And also you mentioned this kind of course that you've been taking. Do you want to tell us more about it? Because it sounds super, super interesting.
Oh, the wellness one that I
Yeah.
mentioned? Yeah,
Yeah.
I took that last year. It was a program, wellness program, and in that
What was it
program,
about?
besides like some exercises and food, girl was talking about aromatherapy, about massage that you can do to yourself, about like how to make some homemade masks, about like wheel of life, heard about it, about
Hmm.
different things, just wellness wise. And I like that it wasn't only fitness, it was really wellness. And one of the things she mentioned is how she pays attention on three things when it comes to her house and her home and how she wants it to feel like and for other people to feel like. And she also has like a massage salon, so it makes sense. One of the thing is she pays attention on how it smells, that it doesn't have, any strong smells, that she has a diffuser and like those, how do you call them, aromatherapy drops, something like
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she paid attention. The second thing, she paid attention on the sounds, that it doesn't have a loud music. She likes like chill. Actually, it's on my TV right now, like chill jazz vibes. And the
Ooh, we
third,
like that.
yeah, and the third thing that she paid attention for her house is the light. Not she doesn't like, and I also don't like bright lights and like lights
Like
everywhere.
overhead lights, right?
Yes. I
Mm-hmm.
like candlelight or like some lamps, maybe a light in another room that is, it has some light
Yeah,
coming
like a
from the other
diffused light.
room. Yeah. And since she mentioned that, I started also paying attention more on that, and I started using my diffuser more, and it's part of my routine when I clean to at the end have diffuser and put like eucalyptus or mint scent to like freshen up the room, and I really love the feel of it. I almost always, even before that, I almost always have some kind of relaxing jazz music in the background, especially when I read. I love having
I
that
love that.
vibes.
That and candles. I used to be obsessed with
Yes.
candles. Like when I was studying, there would always be my routine would be tea, a candle,
Mm-hmm.
and like just my desk. But the ritual of like lighting up a candle was
You
so
have
nice.
to romanticize it in some way
Oh my
to
God,
make it
yes.
more interesting. Yeah, more fun and more like
100%.
more enjoyable.
Yeah, it was so kind of like it's very lush, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And with the jazz and everything, it's very, very elegant, It's kind of I know very classy. I think it's
Yeah,
very
and
classy and
cozy.
I think it cozy, yeah. It goes well with this idea of just enjoying life, the slow life, like slow living
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like personally I'm kind of very much that type of individual who because I'm very quiet, although I don't know, this doesn't sound like it. I have a podcast and like we're having this very extroverted thing, but I tend to be very quiet and I think both of us were kind of studious,
Mm-hmm.
I say. And because of that, it's kind of like my favorite thing is just like you like reading, just sitting down. For me, it would be like learning or studying. For you, it would be reading. Yeah, you have to romanticize it to enjoy it, I'd say. Also, who is this lady that you mentioned Serbian or is this something that?
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, you
Yeah.
have to learn Cyrillic and then learn Serbian.
Yeah, she's Serbian. And it was a random program. It was part of the company I'm working for. They have kind of
Really?
like a wellness day and they have this, collaboration with her and her salon, let's say. And so, yeah,
Uh-huh.
it
Shout out to
was
your company because they do such nice like self-care things for their employees.
oh, well, it's questionable, but
Well,
okay, that was a cool thing. I will say that was a cool thing to do to have. And I
this
have a question for you. You asked me at the beginning, how am I? How are you?
oh
You
my God.
mentioned also something like you're thinking about these days.
Yeah. So basically I sent Jovana this rant audio the other day, and because now we have this platform to share it with, I might as well share it to the whole internet. But how have I been? I've been managing this change of mindset recently between because I used to be a very high achieving, hyper energetic, hyper productive individual. As Giovanna mentioned last time, I was always working. But for the past few years, I've kind of actively tried to slow down and to be more in tune with my body and relax, really learn how to relax. I took a whole gap here to actually take time off and like just take down the stimuli to like do nothing and just relax really. And now I feel like I'm kind of learning how to balance these two mindsets that I've developed. So I've recently finished my degree and like studying like a bachelor's, a master's, and now I'm back home at my parents' place and kind of fishing for the next opportunity. But because I'm like at my home parents' house, I mean, this is one influence is the environment that kind of is making me feel very peaceful, very relaxed. I'm sheltered by my parents. I don't have to worry about, I don't know, food on the table. There's not this environmental stress. But at the same time, I've noticed that, when I used to be here, I used to always be driving and striving towards something. And usually that something would be getting into the University of Cambridge, which I've managed to do recently, and I finished, gotten my results, and I passed, which was something that I wasn't sure
Yay.
if it's going to happen. Most stressful thing I've done in my life. It was a very stressful year. So now, there's this thing where I don't know where I'm at. And it's not only that, you finish uni and you don't know what to do, because you kind of do know what you can do after uni based on what you've studied. But I'm in this place where I have to kind of change the narrative, or having being somebody that's always been very goal driven, and having changed to somebody that's more experiential, like more experience driven. How do you find the balance between enjoying the now and thinking about the future? So that's something that I've been kind of questioning and grappling with, and I asked Giovanna for counsel with. But yeah, what do you think about this kind of yin and yang between trying to reach, like, think about a better future, strive for a better future, but also enjoying where you are now?
Oh, I think this is a longer conversation to have, and I would love to go into it. Because I don't know how can I put it in a
Look,
sentence or two, because I also struggled with that last year, feeling lost and really not sure where I was going, and feeling like I need to do more. I have to be doing some more valuable things, but where I'm going right now, I don't see it professionally wise. I don't see it on a like continuing there on a long run, and feeling very lost and not really knowing what to do with the feeling. I just turned back to exploring. Actually, a mentor suggested, I had mentor a few years ago, and I messaged her. She wrote a newsletter about that topic, and I replied to the newsletter and asked her, explain my thoughts and ask her for advice. And she embraced to be more curious, actually, and to be
mhm.
more like, okay, now I have the time to think about what do I want to do, what do I like to do. And I decided to change this me feeling lost into me feeling curious, being even if it's not about, okay, curious about job, just curious about mundane things like hobbies. And I
Mhm.
started with that just to find joy again in just daily life. And I started doing that, and I started doing some new things hobbies wise. And eventually
That's very
I
interesting.
because it's somehow connected, because when you're learning something, especially doing something with your hand, I started knitting and doing crocheting. I mean, it's just basic things, but you're doing something with your hands and it's just manually, and you're there. You can't really think about, especially when you're new to a hobby, you can't really think about other things because you're still learning how to do stitches and everything, and it's not that you can just mindlessly do it while thinking
Mm-hmm.
about someone else. So you have to be present. And for me, being present was the biggest thing, because it forced me to take it one step at a time, one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And
It was also active as well, so you felt like you were progressing.
yes. They say when you're active and like your body is tired, that your mind is rested. So I see the truth in that.
I like that saying. I really like that saying. It really touches on my hyperactive self. That's definitely something you would want to hear if you're very tired and your mind is rested. Great. I like it.
Yeah, physically being tired versus mentally actually being rested.
Yeah, but that's interesting because then it means that also you have to find this balance between, because you also need to take time to have your mental activity. So if you're rested physically, then your mind is active. I did find this very true recently, having kind of toned it down a lot. I noticed that I don't sleep right away as I used to when I was doing a bunch of things, but I notice my thoughts more, and I get the chance to really observe my thoughts when they're wandering before I go to sleep. And that I find a very kind of meditative, eye-opening experience. Like I kind of enjoy that because I would always be just knocked out at the end of the day, just like go to sleep. Cool. So this sort of activities and hobbies help you get out of that rut.
You know what? Also, that can be helpful to maybe give that voice that who is telling you that you have to be productive, you have to be doing this, you have to be knowing that. Give maybe that voice. That was also an advice that I did. Give it a chance to talk, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Give it a
Mm-hmm.
chance to say what, because everything we're doing, and like the talk that we have with ourselves is supposed to protecting us. So if you can give that voice a chance to tell you, what he's afraid of, or what it is afraid of, why is it having its thoughts. Maybe it can be easier for you to understand fear completely, or insecurity if you have it, or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, it gives you something to work on like
Yeah.
when it arrives again.
I think that's very valuable. I think thinking about it now, this is going to turn into a therapy session, but this is what this is for. This is great. Thinking about it now, I think my biggest fear is getting stuck here, or like not staying here and getting, I know, maybe a bit complacent, because this is something that I've been scared of my entire life. Like I think my entire life I was scared that I'm never going to get out of my condition and change my life. So I put a lot of work into changing my life. So now that I've kind of toned it down and I'm here, and I have this feeling of acceptance, and I'm truly looking at everything with new eyes, which is something that happens a lot, like after a big success in your life, is you realize that success is kind of fleeting, and that's something that I've kind of grappled with for a while, at least since getting into Cambridge. And you realize after you have this like big you dream and you achieve it, you just realize that's not happiness. That's not really lasting. It doesn't really change your life. So you have to change perspectives. So I changed my perspective from this person looking at an end goal to this person staying in the present. And the present is nice, is cushy, is enjoyable, and I can do what I love and enjoy my hobbies. There's this mental clarity that comes up, and generally a space for curiosity to emerge, which I love. I love the thing about curiosity that you mentioned, that you said, because I do find that I have time for my hobbies. I have time to do the projects that I've wanted to do for a long, long time, and that's great. I think my biggest worry, it's just my only worry, is that I would love doing this so much, like too much, that I would just procrastinate on applying to jobs and moving out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, to be honest, I think when the right time comes, like you do it.
Yeah.
It's just So I guess it's just in my head, as you mentioned.
Writing down, and also more as you already did, sharing with a friend. I learned that recently, that
Ah,
it's actually the most valuable thing, because writing down, only writing it down, it gives you that reflection, but it's not as,
it's only one perspective, you know, it's just like your
yes,
story.
yes, not as impactful as sharing with a friend.
Yeah. I recently noticed that, I mean, I'm not going to go too long on this chat tangent, but like, you know, I've recently noticed that there's people who actually struggle with this.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is something, I don't know, this is an advice or a suggestion that I would give to others is to practice really doing that, because it's like expressing your thoughts and thinking out loud,
Yeah.
thinking with a friend through problems, through things. It's a very vulnerable state to be in, obviously, but I think this is just the foundation of friendships and just life in general. You know, it's a great feeling to be able to do that. And it
Yeah.
leads to better learning, as you said.
Yeah. I'm with that.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, and last but not least, Taylor Swift just published an album, which Jovana asked me. Smooth, eh?
Yes. I love the magic you have.
Well, you have to take it away with this one because I'm not a Swiftie, so I don't know much about it. Actually, little secret, for anybody who knows, there's this history between One Direction fans and Taylor Swift fans from the time where Harry Styles and Taylor Swift were dating. And when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, you know, I was very big One Direction fan. Hence why I went to England when I was 19. Was just the biggest fangirl. I just wanted to go to the same country that this beautiful band comes from. And there was like kind of a beef between Taylor Swift fans and One Direction fans. So I think I grew up with that kind of bias.
Ah, well, I don't know if I can call myself Swiftie because I'm not really. I just enjoy the music. I'm not there for any like knowing the details about her personal life and knowing about, just every little like Easter eggs that she has. I find them fascinating, and her mind just really fascinating. And her lyrics, like the way the poetry in her music, I love it. I love it, especially in this last. In this new album. I love how it's just like upbeat it is, but not too much, not like shake it off kind of thing, but it's still like it has playfulness in it, but it's still it's really joyful. I enjoyed every single track for the first listen that I played, and so I was like, okay, did you listen to it maybe by any chance? I didn't know. I had no idea up until this moment if if you're a Swiftie or not. When you told me you're not, I was
No, 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 no. I'm not. This was me when I was in high school or like middle school, even long before that. But what was this playlist, this album about? Like, what was this feeling? Because most of the time she has like a theme for each of her kind of albums. You know, there's the one
yeah.
that you listen to when you had a breakup. There is the one with Toxic Ex. You know, like you know what to reach for when it comes to Taylor Swift albums.
Yeah, this one, as she describes it, is. I'm very nervous to talk about this. As she describes it, is
Why are you nervous?
I don't know.
Don't worry.
And this is like hour and 30 minutes into the podcast. So who knows how many people actually listen to this part. But yeah, it's called The Life of a Showgirl. And from what she describes it, is basically last year and this year she had Eras Tour. And this is basically like behind the scenes of some situations, how she's feeling and things that were happening.
Oh
And
wow,
it's very, yeah, it's playful, and
personal.
I listened to an interview today. She said that her last album was Torture Boys Department, and that when she was writing it and just producing music versus when it was released, she was in a completely different mood, like
Mhm.
from those two moments, because she was in new relationship, healthy relationship. Now she's engaged, and it was completely different. But now she says what it's cool about this album is that she's in exactly same mood and vibe and moment and how she's feeling when she was writing this album and now.
Oh, wow.
when the album is done. And yeah, I'm guessing it's much more enjoyable to talk about it because you're aligned with the
Yeah.
album.
Have you
Yeah.
seen she actually appeared? So the guy that she's dating has a podcast.
Yeah.
You know, wink,
Yeah.
wink. Maybe we'll get. Maybe I'll get. You know, a connection to this podcast. I'm kidding. I'm not that desperate. But
A girl
but
can
I
dream.
saw. Please don't listen to this. Please, future boyfriend, don't listen to this. But I saw the podcast because I was like, Taylor Swift appearing on a podcast. That's very
Uh-huh.
interesting. And I listened to the podcast, and that's how I found out about, like, I don't know, she got into her engaged and stuff. And I thought it was so cool to see, because she's not very like, it was, because podcasts are kind of, especially these online shows, are more intimate and they're long form.
Mhm.
So it felt more like looking at the real person behind the
Mhm.
Taylor Swift image.
Mhm.
Because I think one thing that we really loved about One Direction, that the band, was that, there was a lot of behind the scenes of them being themselves. So it
Mhm.
was always this very authentic, this big authenticity. But Taylor Swift has always been a great, like, she's like the most streamed person in the world.
Mm.
So it was amazing to see kind of like this giant appear on a podcast. It was almost as if, I don't know, a president appeared upon on the
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah.
or like a billionaire or
More
God.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. She even mentions the podcast in one of her lyrics.
No way.
I wouldn't be able to
No, she
tell you now
doesn't.
because I don't know music very well right now, songs, because it came out
Oh my
yesterday.
God.
But yeah, she mentions the name of the podcast if
I
I'm
can't with this
correctly.
girl. She's literally like, this, that's her journal. She's
Yeah.
describing her life in her songs. Well, I hope that
Yeah.
she will continue. I hope she would stay in this phase, so that we get the album of, like, the baby shower album, the second son is annoying me album, the my husband is snoring album.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how transition of songs are gonna go now.
Yeah, me too. The only thing I remember from, like, because I wanted to give Taylor Swift justice last year and 2 years ago when I was experimenting with femininity and stuff. And a very, like, girly thing to do is to listen to Taylor Swift. And also in the UK, Taylor Swift is like a cult. It's actually a cult. Like, every
Oh my god.
university has a society of Swifties, and like they have Taylor Swift nights every Friday, as if it's a
Whoa.
religion, and they meet up and, like, they sing. I think all these people are sober as well. So they just meet and chant to hail Taylor Swift every Friday. It's a cult, like, you meet on Friday for church, Taylor Swift church, and then you praise
Wow.
it, you preach it to other people, you'd sacrifice yourself for the
You
religion.
bond over it.
You bond over it. It's exactly like a cult. And every university out of the hundreds of universities in the UK have a Taylor Swift society.
Wow.
Even Cambridge University has one. And I was like, oh, that's very academic. Um, and having been noticing was such a big thing, like the clubs in so I studied in Lancaster. The club in Lancaster would be booked out for Taylor Swift fans on, like,
Wow.
Friday nights, and I'll be scared to
Wow.
go there, like, it would were great, but it's like mass
Wow.
gathering.
You could have
Talk
gotten
about power.
a friendship bracelet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
So
I don't, to be honest, I don't know if there is another person who has so much power that
yeah,
she has. I am so blown away, to be
it's
honest.
amazing. She's one. I don't understand it, to be honest. Like, I really don't, because to me, I'm not gonna actually. To me, it just sounds very generic,
Mhm.
like a very generic artist. So that's why I was like, yeah, okay, it's cool, like, radio music, and it's cool, like, grocery store music. But I wouldn't actually, like, I don't know, I wouldn't listen to it in my free time. But once I did, and I must say, I really enjoyed all the songs about the exes. I
Mhm.
was vibing to it. They had kind of like a healing nature to it.
Mhm. Yeah, the play on words that she has. I'm really like, when I listen to her songs, I
I know about that.
listen. I listen to the lyrics. I pay
Really?
attention. Yeah, 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 because I really, because there is always a message. There is always a point of the song. It's not, from, at least from what I know, there is not a song that it's like pointless without just there just because it's there.
I
Everything is about anyone, about something, about like,
I'll challenge that a little bit, because I do remember some lyrics that I found quite funny.
yeah,
But
yeah. But it does, for example, Shake It Off. It's because she has this song because she wrote this song and the music video of her just goofing around because people were commenting on her not inability, on quotes, to dance and her not being a like good dancer. And
Really?
because she in awards shows, she's always dancing, she's always jamming to music, she's always standing and just having the best time. And people don't have better jobs to do than just criticize the way she dances and enjoys her time. And so she was like, okay, I'm gonna write a song. And just like the point of the music video is her just being absolutely terrible in dancing, just having the best time and not caring about what people are gonna say
That is a
and
good
think.
move.
Like, yeah, I like that. I like her lyricism,
Yeah,
especially in the last few albums.
that's super cool. I would definitely check it out and see how the Taylor Swift album is like. I stand open to being changed, transformed by this last album. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'll give it a go.
That's all we ask for.
Okay, cool. Well, this was a great podcast episode. We've reached a new limit. We've talked about, again, stories from our wonderful Antalya experience. I promise it's gonna stop at some point, but there was a lot of things to go through. We talk about aromatherapy, about scents, about the importance of environment, Taylor Swift, some catching up to do in terms of just like mental health and stuff. And if you have any preference, if you prefer some topics more than other, let us know so we get some feedback and we know what to talk about next. Let us know in the comments, let us know on social media. The show is streamed on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, and it's called Chicas plus equal podcast. And then on TikTok and Instagram, we are at Chicas plus equals lowercase.
Equals with S.
Right.
Have a lovely, lovely rest of the day, or whatever part of the day you're listening. Keep showing up for yourself, and that's it.
See you next time.